also watching closely this growing tension over D.C.'s identity and control as the president signals he wants control over the city. Thank you for joining us. I'm Leslie Foster, and we've just learned in the last 15 minutes from CBS News that federal law enforcement will begin increased patrols in D.C. starting at midnight in tourist and popular areas. Now, today, D.C.'s U.S. Attorney backed the president's calls to bring in more federal law enforcement and crack down on crime. But it has a lot of people asking, what would a federal takeover actually look like here in the district? Our Matt Gregory is live in front of the White House tonight with some perspective from someone who's been through this. Matt, tell us more.
Yeah, Leslie, tonight while the president mulls increased federal takeover of law enforcement and seems to be hinting at more, we talked to a former council member who lived through the last federal takeover to get an idea of what President Trump can do and what that means for D.C. Over the weekend in D.C., the attack of a DOJ employee by a group of teenagers, shown here from President Trump's Truth Social post, ratcheted up talk of a federal takeover.
We're considering it, yeah, because the crime is ridiculous.
Full throttle.
And that includes bringing in the National Guard, maybe very quickly, too.
Outside the D.C. Armory, a spokesperson said this is just normal training, but
it's the only jurisdiction in America, once again, where the National Guard is controlled by the president.
For more into what a federal takeover of D.C. could look like, we turn to former D.C. council member Jack Evans.
The president can take over and federalize our police force for 48 hours.
But the president could go further.
The Financial Control Board was put in place to make the hard decisions that the city government, frankly, wouldn't do.
Evans, who was on the council back then, says in the mid-1990s, with D.C.'s finances and crime out of control, President Bill Clinton appointed a 5-person control board.
Control board members left no doubt they plan to change the way the D.C. government has been doing business since the beginning of home rule.
We still operated as a council. We passed laws, but everything went through the control board.
After the control board dissolved in the early 2000s, Evans says it went dormant, but...
And so if the president and or Congress wants to put the control board back in place, all they have to do is pass a bill, and it's back.
But Evans thinks that is unlikely and unwise.
It's a lot of work, it's a lot of effort, and and again, back then, it was necessary. The finances were a wreck, the city was a wreck. Today, the city's running.
So, listening to what Leslie was just talking about on the top of the show, where you heard that federal law enforcement will be going out more throughout the district starting at midnight tonight, this is a bit of what Jack Evans was alluding to. He spoke to us off camera saying, you know, one of the easiest things for the president to do is there's about 2/3 of the district is actually federal land. You could just ramp up the sort of patrols and enforcement in the federal land with federal officers, and that way you wouldn't need to federalize D.C.'s police. In the White House, I'm Matt Gregory. Back to you.
Yeah, a lot of contours to this so-called wanting to take over plan, and a lot to remember about what has happened in the past. All right, Matt, thank you.